Hello, Eva, and welcome back.
Hi, Alina. It's great to see you.
Always great to see you too. I was discussing with you earlier today. It was mainly about how we can be involved in the processes that we do with the clients and with the people we work with. And the main idea was about this question that I'm going to ask you now. What would you think that are the most valuable things or the most valuable thing in relationship between a coach or a therapist and a client?
Yeah, it's such a important question you're asking, and specifically these times where we are, I feel, asked to not just be therapists or coaches to hold a specific context for a specific challenge to meet or a specific goal to achieve. I feel our responsibility is also to be a model of what it means to be a human being in this world. And who comes back to me, especially those days, is Virginia Satir and Carl Rogers, the people from the humanistic psychology approach who made the term the therapist's use of the self or the coach's use of the self. And I sometimes like to say the change artist use of the self. And to me, it's a way of being and showing up in a session. It is less about knowing all these different approaches and techniques and using certain skill sets, but to me, it's more of an insight and then out showing up fully as a person. And so when I think about therapist use of self, um, I think in terms of before I begin a session, I create a space for myself where I really become present to myself. And what I would call turn the mirror from the outside to the inside and radically become honest to my own self and just really notice what is my body sensation, what am I feeling, what is most present in me right now, so that I can really detect that and own it, to be self-engineering, self-responsible, and then be ready to open and be really present in the session. Virginia Satir liked to say the greatest gift I can give to another person is the quality of my presence, which means I have to be really present and aware with everything that goes on inside of me so that I can actually sit comfortable in the presence and give the quality of my presence to the other, which I find is really important. I think that's the moment to moment. Then I anticipate that whoever I tracked into my session is probably somebody who is dealing with a challenge that I have exercised myself in my own life. That's just something I anticipate. So the chances that maybe somebody is bringing an issue that I have been chewing on for a while, maybe a family issue, maybe somebody is experiencing an issue about being clear about their own boundaries, meaning how are they able to say clear no when somebody is invading their space. um, the chance is high that I probably have dealt with boundary stuff myself. And what's important then, I think, is that we know whatever you experience over there, I know that core challenge inside of myself too. And I'm very clear when I experienced all of those things, so that when we meet, I can sympathetic and compassionate set in resonant connection to that. I know what you're experiencing, and but also to be very clear I know how to deal with it myself, and I'm curious to create a space with you to find out what it means for you to meet the challenge of creating honorable boundaries for yourself, so that we're not projecting our own ideas to them. We're also not getting absorbed into the challenge with our clients by saying, oh my God, I'm rowing in the same boat. I know exactly what you're experiencing. Oh my God, that brings me to my own story. And then I'm basically absorbed in their story and I'm not present with them. It's a fine line between me, you, and us, and we create a space so that you can experience through me in our relationship conversation what it means to create a good boundary.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think would be the most necessary ingredient for creating that before you enter the session?
Well, I think practice helps. I guess I would make a differentiation between right before the session, what are preparation steps that help, and then maybe also the lifelong ongoing process. Let's put it like long term, middle term, and short term. Mm-hmm. So short term, what I like to do is I do a somatic practice that I've been doing a lot, which is I do what's called a cleaning exercise. And one of my friends who is a mindfulness teacher has taught me this from the Chinese tradition. It's a Qigong technique. And it's cleaning where where I roll into my toes, I roll into my hands, and I create a lot of tension in me. And then I release the tension. And I do that 3 times. So rolling in, and I create all of that tension, and then letting go of the tension. And then there's a physical activity where I am lifting my arms, and I'm through my hands, I'm scanning my whole body to scan and clean everything that I was still holding on to release that out of my body. And I will do that 3 times. So the imagination is I use in a very soft way my hands and imagine they're scanning out everything that I hold on to and that I can now take time to release. And then I'm also doing a little exercise about grounding myself. I imagine I'm a tree. I have roots that grow, as Carl Jung liked to say it, all the way into the darkness, so that my branches can grow equally into the heavens. So I do something that is called opening your channel, the vertical channel. So I become a tree. I become a gigantic tree to just be physically connected and be ready to open into a session. And then I open with that curiosity of like, let me know what kind of challenge you're sitting with, and I want to give you my human presence in order to really meet that challenge, person to person, heart to heart, belly to belly, soul to soul. I also sometimes use the quote from Virginia Satir that says, the greatest gift that I can give is to somebody else is to see them, to hear them, to feel them, and to understand them. And so it's a way of organizing myself to really see, hear, feel, and understand what the client is going through. On the long term, which is a much higher commitment and higher task, I have committed myself in the tradition of Virginia Satir's work, the Mother of Family Systems work, to step by step get to know myself as intimately as possible with all my light and shadow sides, if you wish. You see a picture behind me. That's where I was teaching in China some years ago. And you see me under this blanket or under the scarf. That's a metaphor to really have committed myself in the tradition of the work that I represent to get to know myself, especially with the parts that I do not know about myself so much yet. how do I get to this place is a lot of times when I'm noticing I'm feeling triggered. There's something happening where my body starts to, my breathing shifts, or I get anxious or angry or something like that. To open up with the curiosity of like, what is it that I feel so triggered about, and where do I know this from? And to really investigate and take my detective hat to look into my learnings. So what I really want to learn about myself is the learnings that are still present today when they come to me. And usually trigger points are good detective entering points to become curious. And so I did really commit myself, like every time this happens, to look into myself and say, I really want to learn more about myself, about what did I learn in the past and how is it present right now, and how did that get activated again in this moment to become intimately a friend to all these learnings. Because what happens is the more I become conscious, the more I become aware, this is what's going on for me in a moment of time, the more I can actually consciously notice them and then choose to do something different. So what I'm really looking into is to get to know myself as best as possible, because the more I know myself, the better I can accept others the way they are, without trying to change them or without trying to make something different. So that's one. I go here, look in, and then I bring it out here.
Oh, thank you for that sharing, and I think this is a beautiful way to end our today's conversation with that
Yes.
side. The more we know ourselves, the more willing are to know others better. Thank you.
Thank you.